Hello, everybody. My name's Rick McCutcheon, and today on Partner Talks, we have a returning guest, Jason Gumpert from MSDynamicsWorld. Jason, tell everybody who you are and what you do, and what is MSDynamicsWorld?
Hey, Rick. Yeah, thanks for having me back. Always fun to chat on a Partner Talks episode. So, yeah, I'm Jason Gumpert. I'm the editor at MSDynamicsWorld. What is MSDynamicsWorld? I mean, at its core, it's a news and information website. We do independent original reporting on the Microsoft Business Applications channel, Dynamics, Power Platform, Fabric, Azure. We also host a lot of branded information, so you'll see all kinds of resources from the channel, everything from videos and ebooks to podcasts, blog posts, press releases, case studies. So a whole lot of content, hopefully something that your listeners and readers can and viewers can find useful.
So let's talk about your membership because it's very impressive. Like you guys have been at this for what, maybe 15 years or so, maybe longer.
A little
How many
longer.
members do you have that belong to your site?
Yeah, 100,000 plus registered members, and just briefly, I'll say the approach that we use with our readers and our membership is, you register for our site. It's free to register to become a member, and then you have access to everything. So any downloads, any videos you want to view, anything else you want to read, it's all open to you after the single registration point. So, yeah, that's our approach, and our readers are made up of, just to kind of break it down at a broad level, it's about evenly split between customers, Microsoft customers, and Microsoft partners, with then a sort of a smaller portion making up the balance, who are ISVs and prospective Microsoft customers and Microsoft employees, recruiters, other kind of folks out there in the world who like to stay up to date on news about what's going on in this channel.
Okay, great. So, if you're a partner out there and you want to target a segment within biz apps, especially check out MSDynamicsWorld. You'll also hear it called MSDW. But what I'm really interested about today is talking about your survey. Now, I think we're in the third year of this survey, which is where you survey your listenership, readership, and let's talk a little bit about historically what you've done on this survey.
Yeah, we've been surveying our audience for years, but we've really taken a specific approach to it in the last, like you said, 3-4 years, where we've been asking them very pointed questions from the perspective of, and asking different questions that are related to partners and to customers, to really understand sort of how they both see the world, but then how they also interact with each other and how they think both the other side of that relationship is going, if you will. So that's yielded some really great results, and it's been great sort of presenting that out in the world at different phases. And so yeah, we're running a new version of that survey this year, and really, like I said, the goal is to get a pulse of sort of how things are going from the side of customers in the Microsoft space, and how Microsoft partners see things evolving. And we can talk a little more about that. I mean, what some of the different angles are that we're looking at.
So, what really got me when I started digging into these numbers is we could easily start to define from a customer perspective, what are they consuming at the top of the sales funnel when they're trying to educate themselves? What are they consuming in the middle of the funnel where they're kind of doing due diligence on vendors and partners? And what do they want to consume near the bottom of the funnel? And when I look at that, it really opens up, I think, our eyes as partners to say, okay, if this customer is consuming podcasts, they're high up. If they're starting to, do detailed demos, they're probably in the middle somewhere. And if they're asking for, customer references, we know they're moving down to the end, and you're in the final decision-making process. But it's not just that. You probably had, 30 categories of content that you looked at.
Yeah, it keeps expanding a little bit every year. I'm trying to think of what we added for this one. I know we added a couple categories, and maybe I know you've seen that list. Maybe you can remember what they are, but I know we've added at least one or two more this time around. I think in the most recent, like last year, I think we added reviews, like custom reviews and things like that. But and we keep adding others as we hear from our readers or from marketers too, what they think is important. And yeah, I think the thing that everyone kind of wonders about is, well, two things. One is people wonder sort of what kind of research, what kind of information Microsoft customers sort of need to make a decision about where to invest next, right? Like, how do they do their research? How do they make their decisions? And then what does that journey look like? But then I think also, for marketers in this space, and that's where we also, as a site and a business, sort of spend a lot of our time thinking how to guide and advise marketers, is sort of where should they be investing, right, their resources. And that's been one of the big, I think, accomplishments of these surveys and the reports that we put out and presentations we've done in relation to them, is to try to start to help them answer that question. Like, are you investing, and so they can reflect a bit, like, are you kind of over investing in a particular type of activity or a particular type of content, a particular type of materials that you're producing, and is it sort of hurting your ability to meet opportunities across that funnel, like you said, from the sort of the top to the bottom?
And I think what's important too is, let's say 10 years ago we would start to ask the question, how much content are buyers accessing during their decision making process? And, when I saw reports and studies on that, it was somewhere maybe 7 to 10 to 12. Now we're seeing, studies saying that people are accessing 18, 20, 25 pieces of content during their decision-making process. And buying groups are getting bigger. So when we jump into an environment like LinkedIn, you just see a lot of content coming up these days, over and over and over again. So I think it's important for ISVs and for partners to understand what content is being accessed, at what point, and where should I be putting my investments in, because I think it's becoming less and less, I'm not going to say relevant, but important for the salesperson to be the quarterback of the deal. I think somehow it's a combination of your marketing content and your sales organization really quarterbacking this buying process.
Yeah, and I think also just understanding what else is out there in the world right now that these people are consuming, because all of those different touch points influence them, whether it's events that you're not involved in, or reports that you created, maybe something you didn't create. I mean, those all have an impact. It's not just the things that you're producing. And I say that because we certainly see that in our data when we look at sort of what are our users, our site members doing? What are they consuming? What activities are they taking? What actions are they taking? Like, we can see it's not all focused on one vendor, obviously, or it's not all articles about one topic. It really, it's broad, and it makes for a sort of a rich picture, but also a complex picture of sort of who cares about what and when.
And I think, going forward with AI, it's going to be more important that, content becomes trusted. And when we're working with your site, which is a membership site, they know it's coming from a reliable source, as opposed to your feed now. Okay, which video is real, right? Which study is real? And I think more and more people are going to go back and say, where did this come from? And I think that's going to be very important when we come to MSDW in your direction.
Yeah, I think buyers, when it comes to enterprise software, have always, at least the smart ones, have known or have learned that you don't trust what you see every time, right? I mean, demos have sort of a reputation for glossing over rough spots, right? I mean, everyone's seen that if you've been in this space for any amount of time, that the first demo you see is not going to sort of show you everything you need to know. And I think AI, kind of pushes that a bit further. So I think, from our perspective, trust is everything, right? Like, we can't be, we can't be a viable resource if we're not trusted. And I think that goes for marketers as well. And we ask a little bit about that in the new survey.
And so that new survey is now available. It's now open, and I'll make sure that there's a link to whether you're a partner, customer, or ISV, how you can participate in that survey. And if you participate, you get early access to the results. So I think everybody should try to grab their spot and have that say. But another thing is we've got Directions EMEA 2025 coming up in Poznan, Poland, first week of November, and you and I are going to be presenting some of these results. So let's talk a little bit about, we've presented it before there. What are we going to be presenting this time?
Yeah, I mean, we had such a great response to what we shared from past surveys that this, with some time that's now passed, this is a great opportunity to go back to share some of the preliminary information that we're already gathering. We've got some great responses already in this current survey that's live now. So we'll be using some of that data, and I think probably trying to align it with what we've learned in the past. Like we already touched on some of those points, right? Like buying stage content preferences and expectations that partners have for customers, which I think is always super interesting, versus customers' sort of outlook on what they actually say they're going to do, and what they actually say they prefer when it comes to content, when it comes to interaction with salespeople, which is always super interesting. And then my personal favorite is some of the, what do you call it, like ad hoc comments, or the sort of just the sort of free form comments that people put into the survey to sort of express usually to express their frustration with something, or their exasperation with something that they're dealing with in the world, which is always fun. And so we'll often share some of those sort of anonymized bits and pieces that we'll have there. So yeah, I think this one at Directions EMEA will be really kind of an integrated set of findings that sort of tries to tie together the world, and then we'll keep analyzing that data from the current survey going into the winter.
So, Jason, we should talk a little bit about Directions EMEA, because last year we were in Vienna with over 3,000 SMB partners. I think they're expecting maybe even more this year in Poland. So why is this conference so important to the SMB marketplace?
I think one of the reasons why is just it's developed, I don't want to say heritage, but it's developed a reputation over many years of putting this event on as becoming kind of one of the premier SMB business application events in the Microsoft channel. Probably for this region, it is the premier event. I mean, it's and it speaks to sort of the strength of SMB business applications at Microsoft in the EMEA region overall. And I think it also speaks to sort of the pull of this event in particular, because now it's very much a global audience. I mean, you have plenty of people from North America represented there, from Asia, from Australia. You meet people. So I mean, it's really become a kind of one of those premier events, and Microsoft treats it as that way as well. The teams that set the goals and define the products for SMBs, whether it's Business Central or some of the Power Platform scenarios and beyond, they make this one of their focus points, because they know this is where partners tend to show up and network and get educated.
I know the energy at a Directions conference is next to none in this partner world. So I'm looking forward to presenting again with you at Directions 2025, and looking forward to, I know it's October, we're going to be talking about 2026, and a lot of great things happening with MSDynamicsWorld and PartnerTalks. So it's always a pleasure working with your team, Jason, and thanks for coming on this show.
Oh, it was fun to talk to you, Rick. Looking forward to seeing you in Poznan.
Have a great day, and bye for now.